exposing the nightmarish secret in an abandoned cabin. Am I the only one that didn't know the woods could be this terrifying? The darkness seemed to swallow every bit of light, and the trees, once comforting, now loomed like silent sentinels. A seasoned hiker decided to venture solo into the mountains. He had done this countless times before, always finding solace in the embrace of nature. His day was filled with the usual sights: trees, bushes, and the thrill of the outdoors. The chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves were his companions. But then, as dusk crept in, he realized he didn't recognize the trail back. The familiar paths seemed to twist and turn in ways they never had before. Panic set in. His heart raced as he tried to retrace his steps, but every direction looked the same. With only a dwindling flashlight and no sense of direction, he knew it was too dangerous to proceed. The forest, once a place of peace, now felt like a labyrinth designed to trap him. Just when he thought he'd be spending the night exposed to the elements, he stumbled upon an old, decrepit cabin. Its silhouette was barely visible against the dark backdrop of the forest. Desperation led him to knock, but no answer came. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. He entered cautiously, finding a single perfectly made bed in the center. The cabin was eerily well kept, as if someone had just left moments before. Exhausted, he decided to rest, hoping to explain himself if the owner returned. The bed, though simple, felt like a luxury after hours of wandering. But as he lay down, he noticed them. Portraits. They were old, with frames that looked like they belonged in a different era. Dozens of eerie faces smiling down at him. Each face seemed to have a story, a history that was both fascinating and terrifying. Their eyes seemed to follow his every move, sending chills down his spine. It was as if they were watching, waiting for something. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, exhaustion took over, and he drifted to sleep. His dreams were filled with those faces, their eyes piercing through the darkness. The next morning he woke early, ready to escape the haunting cabin. The first light of dawn brought a sense of relief, but also a lingering unease. But then his blood ran cold. There were no paintings, only windows. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Those faces, those eyes, they weren't paintings at all. They were real, watching him through the windows all night. He bolted out of the cabin, his heart pounding in his chest. The forest, now bathed in morning light, seemed less menacing. But the memory of those eyes haunted him. After what felt like an eternity, he found a familiar trail. Relief washed over him as he realized he was no longer lost. He reached a safe spot and looked back at the forest. The cabin was nowhere to be seen, as if it had vanished into thin air. Later, he recounted his harrowing experience to friends around a campfire. They listened in stunned silence, the crackling fire the only sound. Some were skeptical, thinking it was just a trick of the mind, a result of exhaustion and fear. But he knew what he saw. He marked the spot on his map, vowing never to return. The forest held many secrets, and he had stumbled upon one that was better left undiscovered. As he packed his gear for his next adventure, he couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was watching him, waiting for his return. The woods, with their ancient trees and hidden paths, held a mystery that was both alluring and terrifying. And somewhere deep within, that cabin still stood, waiting for its next visitor. The hiker's nightmare was a stark reminder that some places are best left unexplored, their secrets buried in the shadows of the past.